Have you ever been in the middle of a peaceful afternoon, maybe you've just finished folding laundry, or you're about to sit down with a cup of tea, and suddenly, from across the house, you hear it? That sharp, shrill scream of a toddler mid-meltdown. 1 second everything's fine, the next, toys are flying, tiny fists are pounding the floor, and your once sweet grandbaby is a red-faced whirlwind of tears and frustration. If you've ever been there, and let's be honest, most of us have, you know how quickly those moments can drain your energy. And if you're a grandparent helping raise young children, or even just babysitting from time to time, it can feel overwhelming. You might think to yourself, was parenting always this hard? Have kids changed? Or is it just me? Let me reassure you, it's not just you. Toddlers are complex little people. They're full of feelings, but they don't yet have the words or the skills to express those feelings in a calm, controlled way. What looks like defiance or misbehavior is often just confusion, frustration, or a desperate attempt to be heard. Now, here's where your role becomes incredibly important. You have something not all parents have, you have wisdom. Patience. The long view. And maybe even a bit more calm in your back pocket because you've been here before. You've raised your own kids. You know the stage doesn't last forever. But still, it helps to have practical tools. Simple, peaceful ways to handle those outbursts without shouting, bribing, or throwing your hands in the air. In this video, we're going to go over 5 powerful ways to calm a toddler during a tantrum without yelling. These are gentle, respectful techniques that work with a child's brain, not against it. And more importantly, they preserve the bond between you and that little one you love so much. Let's start with one of the most effective, and often most overlooked, tools we have, connection in the moment. When a child is having a tantrum, our first instinct is usually to correct, explain, or even walk away in frustration. Stop yelling. That's not how we act. You're being ridiculous. It's natural. We want to stop the chaos. But here's the truth, a child in the middle of a meltdown cannot listen, reason, or process anything you're saying. Their brain is in what we call fight or flight mode, completely overwhelmed. What they need first isn't logic, it's connection. That means getting down to their eye level. Using a calm voice. Softening your face, even if you're annoyed. It might mean placing a hand gently on their back or saying something as simple as, "I see you're really upset right now. I'm here." It's not about fixing the behavior right away. It's about letting the child know they are safe, even when they're upset. When a toddler feels understood, even just a little, the storm often begins to pass on its own. Their little bodies start to settle. Their breathing slows. And suddenly, you're not fighting them, you're guiding them. I remember a grandmother telling me about a time her 2-year-old granddaughter had a total meltdown over the color of her cup. The red one, not the blue one. Screaming, throwing herself on the floor, the works. Instead of arguing, she sat on the ground next to her and said quietly, "You really wanted the red cup, huh? That's hard." And just like that, the tension started to melt. The toddler looked at her, nodded through tears, and crawled into her lap. That's the power of connection. It doesn't mean you give in to everything. But it means you lead with empathy, then guide with structure. Now let's talk about another approach that works wonders, naming the feeling. Again, this might seem too simple to be effective, but toddlers are still learning what emotions even are. To them, anger, sadness, and frustration are just big scary waves. They don't know the names for those feelings, and when we help them label what they're feeling, we're giving them tools for the rest of their lives. You might say, "You're mad because we had to leave the park," or "You feel sad because we can't have cookies before dinner." You're not rewarding the tantrum, you're just acknowledging the truth. And when a child hears you put their feeling into words, something amazing happens. They feel seen. And that feeling of being seen is often enough to help them calm down. Think of it like this, imagine you're upset, and someone looks at you and says, "Why are you being so dramatic?" You'd probably feel even worse. But if they said, "That sounds really frustrating," you'd feel understood, right? That's all your toddler wants. To know that they're big, confusing emotions make sense to someone. That they're not alone in them. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. It's okay if you guess the wrong emotion. You're sad? No, you're mad? Even that guessing process helps build their awareness. Now, once you've connected and helped name the feeling, there's often a natural moment to move into redirection. But instead of jumping there just yet, I want to take a pause here. Because calming a child isn't about rushing through steps or checking off a parenting checklist. It's about meeting the moment with as much calm as you can offer. And I know, some days that's easier said than done. Especially when you're tired, or you're juggling a million things, or you've already had a full day and now this little person is shrieking over socks. But those are the moments when your presence matters most. When your steady voice and your loving eyes say, "You are safe. You are loved." Even when it's hard. Now that we've talked about connecting in the moment and naming the feeling, let's move on to the next powerful way to help a toddler through their meltdown without ever needing to raise your voice. Because now that we've opened the door with connection and given their emotions a name, we can gently step into something toddlers respond to surprisingly well, offering choices. You see, toddlers live in a world where almost everything is decided for them. What they eat, when they sleep, where they go, it's all managed by adults. So when they throw a tantrum, it's often less about the thing they're crying over, and more about needing to feel some control in a world that feels way too big. Offering small, simple choices gives them back just enough power to help them feel like they matter. And when you give that power before the meltdown spirals, you might just avoid the tantrum altogether. But even in the middle of one, choices can help guide them back to calm. Let's say your grandson is upset because it's time to clean up toys. Instead of demanding, "Pick them up now or no TV later," try offering a gentle but clear choice. Do you want to put the blocks away first or the cars? Or if it's about getting dressed, do you want to wear the red shirt or the blue one today? These are not trick questions, they're real choices within boundaries you've already set. You're not asking whether they want to clean up or not. You're giving them some say within the structure. That's the magic. They feel respected, you stay in charge, and the power struggle fades. I remember one grandpa sharing that every morning was a battle over brushing teeth, lots of whining and resistance. Then one day he simply said, "Do you want to brush your teeth before or after you put on your pajamas?" And just like that, it shifted. The choice gave his grandson a sense of control without letting go of the routine. And morning battles turned into a smoother, even playful, rhythm. Sometimes you might offer a choice like, "Do you want to calm down in my lap or would you rather sit with your teddy?" The key isn't to get it perfect. It's to stay calm and keep offering that child a sense that they can make decisions too, even when they're little. And now, let's talk about a technique that's quiet but deeply effective, calming through your own body language. Because here's the thing, kids are like little emotional mirrors. They reflect what they see and feel from the adults around them. If your voice is tense, if your eyebrows are scrunched, if your energy is frantic, they'll pick up on that and mirror it right back. But if your body says, "I'm safe. I'm steady. I've got you," they'll start to settle too. Next time a tantrum erupts, try this. Take a deep breath, really deep, loud enough for them to hear. Then kneel down slowly, soften your shoulders, open your hands, and lower your voice. Even without words, your presence tells them, this is not an emergency. We're okay. Sometimes all it takes is you being a calm presence next to them. You don't need to fix it immediately. You just need to be with them in the storm. Over time, that teaches toddlers how to calm themselves, not because they were forced into it, but because they learned from you what calm feels like. There was one woman who shared how her toddler would scream when it was time to leave the park, arms flailing, face red, the whole scene. Instead of rushing or scolding, she started slowing her own body down. She'd sit on the grass, take a breath, and say, "I know it's hard to leave. I'll wait here with you for a minute." And often, the child would wander over on their own, ready to go, far sooner than if she tried to rush or yell. Our energy matters more than our words sometimes. And when we model calm, even in chaos, we show kids that big feelings don't have to be scary. that they can come down safely, even if they went up in a blaze. Now, this brings us to something just as powerful, something that seems small, but helps avoid tantrums in the first place: catching the cues before the storm hits. Tantrums often build slowly. A little hunger, a little tiredness, a little overstimulation, these things sneak up. And if we're not watching closely, the meltdown feels like it came out of nowhere. But if we tune in, we often see the signs before the explosion. Maybe your grandchild starts rubbing their eyes, or their tone gets sharper, or they get a little clingier. Maybe they throw a toy they usually play with gently. These are all warning signs. They're not trying to be difficult, they're trying to tell you, in the only way they know how, something doesn't feel right. When you catch those early cues, you can gently redirect or meet the need before the tantrum fully arrives. Maybe it's a snack, a cuddle, a quiet moment away from the noise. And if the meltdown still comes, and it will, sometimes, that's okay. You've still done the most important thing: you've shown up. Calm, caring, and consistent. One grandfather told me he used to get so frustrated when his grandson flipped out every time they were out shopping. But then he started noticing a pattern. It always happened around 11 a.m., just before lunch. Now, he brings a banana or some crackers and offers them when he sees those early signs. What used to be a guaranteed meltdown is now just a short pause and a snack break. That's it. Nothing fancy. Just paying attention. Now that we've explored offering choices, modeling calm body language, and catching those early signals, we can look at one final, deeply meaningful way to help toddlers through those tough moments. Because sometimes, even after all the connecting, all the choices, all the gentle redirection and patience in the world, toddlers still melt down. They're human, just smaller. They're still learning to be in charge of their big, confusing emotions. So the final calming habit we're going to talk about is one that speaks to the heart of it all: staying consistent and creating safe, predictable rhythms. You see, little ones thrive on routine. Not because they're boring or rigid, but because their brains are still developing, and routine gives them a sense of order. A feeling of safety. It's like how you might feel more at ease when your coffee is in your favorite mug, where you hear the birds chirping at the same time each morning. There's a rhythm to it, a comfort. For a toddler, knowing what's coming next helps prevent the kind of fear or confusion that can trigger a tantrum in the first place. That doesn't mean you have to live by a strict schedule. It just means building little anchors into the day. A simple bedtime routine. A mealtime ritual. A certain way you say goodbye when dropping them off or picking them up. One grandmother shared how her grandson used to scream and cry every time his parents left for work. But then she started using the same parting phrase each morning: "We say see you soon," and blow a big kiss. And every single day, they would blow a kiss together, wave, and then go on with their day. After a week or two, the tantrums at drop-off stopped. That tiny routine became a reassuring signal: you're safe, and we always come back. Predictability doesn't erase tantrums, but it helps a child feel more secure, less like the world is happening to them, and more like they're a part of something steady. And when things do go off course, because life happens, you can gently prepare them ahead of time. Today's going to be a little different. We're going to visit the doctor before lunch. You're giving them a heads up, which gives their little brains time to adjust. The key here is that your presence is the routine. Your tone. Your patience. The way you respond, again and again, even when it's hard. That becomes a safe place for a child. Not just your words, but the way you show up every time. Because even when a toddler is thrashing on the floor or shouting no for the 10th time in 5 minutes, what they're really asking is, "Can I still count on you when I'm hard to handle?" And when the answer is yes, calmly, quietly, lovingly, that's when they start to learn. That's when they start to build those inner muscles for handling emotion. So if you've ever found yourself whispering, "Please stop crying," or staring at a red-faced toddler wondering what on earth happened to the sweet child you were playing with 5 minutes ago, take a breath. You're not alone. You're not doing it wrong. You're just walking through a normal stage of childhood that's as messy as it is important. Let's take a moment and gently gather what we've talked about so far. Not as a list to memorize, but as tools you already have in your heart. You connect first, rather than correct. You help name the feeling so it's not so scary. You offer small choices to give a sense of control. You use your calm body language to anchor the moment. And you build routines, not just to keep the peace, but to teach a child what safety and love feel like over and over again. You don't have to raise your voice. You don't have to win every battle. You just have to keep showing up, with kindness, with steadiness, with the kind of quiet wisdom that only comes with time and experience. If no one has told you lately, you're doing a beautiful job. You're shaping a little soul in ways you may not see today, but that will echo for years to come. Every time you sit beside them during a meltdown instead of walking away, every time you take a deep breath when it would be easier to snap, every time you hold their hand after the storm has passed, you're teaching them something precious. You're showing them what love looks like when it's tested. And there is no better lesson than that. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Have you tried any of these gentle techniques before? What's worked, or maybe not worked, for you and your little ones? Leave a comment below and share your story. You never know who might read it and feel just a little less alone because of your words. And if you found this video helpful, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That helps more people find this kind of support. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss more heart-centered tips for raising and grand-raising confident, connected kids. Thank you for being here, for caring, and for making such a difference, one calm moment at a time. Here's to raising the next generation with less yelling and more understanding. You've got this.